If AI can write reports, analyze data, generate code, and even design graphics, what exactly is left for young graduates to do? Will, I want to start today with something uncomfortable. Over the past few weeks, I've been receiving messages from students who just graduated or are about to graduate. And honestly, the tone of those messages is pretty heavy. One student wrote, I spent 4 years studying finance. I did 2 internships. I followed all the advice, but now I can't even get an interview. Another message said, my parents keep asking when I'll start my career. But the truth is, I don't even know where the career ladder is anymore. And everywhere online, people keep seeing headlines about AI replacing programmers, analysts, designers, even junior lawyers.
Wealth isn't disappearing, it's changing hands.
The next 10 years won't reward hustle. They'll reward better decisions. I'm Chi-Chi, tracking capital before it trends.
I'm Will, 20 years navigating real market cycles. The edge today isn't more information, it's sharper judgment. This is Align Wealth 2040.
Clarity,
Strategy.
action. So the real question young people are asking is this: if AI can do entry-level work, what exactly are we supposed to do? Is the traditional career path starting to break?
I think the honest answer is yes. The system is changing faster than most people expected. For decades, the formula was simple.
Study hard, get a degree, find a stable job, climb the ladder, save for retirement. But that formula is now being challenged. Technology is accelerating, companies are restructuring, and artificial intelligence is compressing entire layers of entry-level work. Historically, automation hits the bottom rung of the ladder first, and that bottom rung is exactly where young people begin. That's why graduates feel the shock earlier than everyone else.
That's exactly what many students are worried about. They're asking, if AI can write reports, analyze data, generate code, and design graphics, what is left for junior employees to do? At the same time, Elon Musk keeps making bold predictions. He recently said that in the future, people might not even need to save for retirement. When young people hear that, it sounds both exciting and terrifying. Is Musk exaggerating, or is there something deeper behind that idea?
Musk often speaks in extreme terms, but he's usually pointing to real structural shifts. When he talks about a future where retirement savings may not matter as much, he's really talking about productivity driven by AI and automation. If machines dramatically increase productivity, the relationship between work and income changes. For the past 100 years, wealth mainly came from labor income. You worked 40 years, you saved part of your salary, and eventually you retired. But in a high automation world, the question changes. Instead of asking, how do I work harder for income, people begin asking, how do I participate in systems that generate wealth? And that's where the conversation becomes controversial, because most people still think in terms of careers, while the future economy may reward ownership and leverage much more.
But that sounds almost unfair. If someone is 22 years old, just graduated, and struggling to find a job, how are they supposed to participate in those systems? Most of them don't even have savings yet.
That's exactly why this generation needs to think differently about risk. In the past, the biggest fear was unemployment. Today, the bigger risk may actually be trying to fight the system alone. When markets become more complex, many individuals react by taking extreme risks. They chase crypto bubbles. They day trade meme stocks. They jump into whatever trend is popular online, because emotionally they feel like they're falling behind. But most of that behavior is closer to gambling than investing. It creates excitement in the short term, but rarely builds long-term stability. And something interesting is happening right now. Many companies are not officially announcing that they are replacing entry-level roles with AI. But quietly, the number of junior openings is shrinking. Instead of hiring 5 junior analysts, a company might hire one experienced person who knows how to work with AI tools. So the ladder still exists, but the bottom steps are getting narrower.
So if going alone into the market is dangerous, what's the alternative? Because young people also distrust institutions. They watched the financial crisis. They saw massive tech layoffs. And many feel the system was never designed for them. Why should they trust structured financial systems?
That's a fair concern, but we need to separate two very different things. blind speculation, and structured participation. Structured investments are strategies built by institutions that combine market exposure with risk management. Some of them allow investors to give up a small portion of upside in exchange for protection against certain losses. But the interesting part is how the structure is designed. There are buffered strategies, floor and cap designs, dual direction setups, and other variations built using derivatives markets. Because institutions operate at large scale, they can assemble these structures more efficiently than most individual investors. So the goal isn't simply to sacrifice return for safety. The goal is to reshape how risk appears in a portfolio. Institutions don't try to beat the market. They design the rules of participation. So you're still in the market, but you're not exposed to every wave of volatility.
So instead of trying to beat the market alone, the idea is to participate with guardrails?
Exactly. Think about learning to swim in the ocean. You don't start during a storm in the deepest water. You start somewhere controlled. Structured strategies act like guardrails. They help investors stay in the game without being wiped out by one emotional decision. And during periods of economic transition, volatility tends to increase. Right now, we're clearly entering one of those periods.
Let's go back to young graduates. If the traditional career ladder is unstable and markets are complex, what should young people actually focus on building?
I usually suggest thinking in 3 layers. First is skills. Not just technical skills, but adaptability, communication, and the ability to work across systems. Those become extremely valuable in an AI-driven economy. Second is ownership. Even small forms of ownership matter. Equity, intellectual property, digital products, or participation in growing platforms. And the third layer is leverage. And one important thing about leverage is that technology has lowered the cost of experimentation. 20 years ago, starting something new usually required capital. Today, many ideas can be tested with almost no upfront cost. You can launch a project, test demand, and adjust quickly. That speed of experimentation is one of the biggest advantages young people have today.
Leverage sounds attractive, but also a little abstract. What does it actually look like for someone just starting their career?
Think of leverage as building around your skills rather than relying only on a job. In the past, most people had one path: get hired and climb the ladder. Today, there are more ways to build. Someone might start a niche media channel, someone might build a small AI tool, another person might sell digital products or specialized consulting. You're not building a huge company on day one. You start small, test ideas quickly, and grow only when something works. For graduates entering an uncertain job market, that flexibility can be extremely valuable.
So the future might look less like one lifelong career and more like a portfolio of income streams?
That's a good way to think about it. In the past, stability came from a single employer. In the future, stability may come from diversification. Some income from work, some from ownership, some from investments. And ideally, those investments are structured and diversified rather than speculative bets. Because the goal isn't to win every race. The goal is to stay in the game long enough to benefit from long-term technological change.
I think that's where many young people feel pressure. They believe if they don't succeed immediately, they're already behind.
That's a psychological trap. Every technological revolution creates a period of confusion. People who succeed early are rarely the ones with perfect plans. They are the ones who position themselves where opportunity can eventually find them. That means staying flexible with your career path and being careful about financial risk. Because in an uncertain world, survival and optionality matter more than speed. And remember something important. Every technological transition feels chaotic while it is happening. People inside the transition often think the system is collapsing. But what is usually happening is that the rules are being rewritten.
That's a very different message from what young people usually hear. Instead of telling them to hustle harder, you're saying they need to think structurally.
Exactly. The old economy rewarded people who climbed corporate ladders. The new economy may reward people who understand systems, leverage, and ownership. And that shift is already happening.
If you're thinking about your family's future, income, education, retirement, and feel overwhelmed by information, that's normal.
Real confidence doesn't come from more opinions. It comes from a clear structure and a plan you can execute.
That's why we offer a complimentary 1-1 strategy session focused on your specific situation.
Some families refine their financial strategy, Others explore partnership or even a path to grow with our team. The link is below. Align Wealth 2040. Build with intention.